So this video should be a really big reveal. It is for me. I'm seeing something fun. I'm finding a way to confirm the numbers that I'm finding in the Bible and finding the Bible matrix, if that's what you call it. It's a pretty simple one, but it's right here in our face. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel. And let's go ahead and start talking about that right now. I'm going to do a little bit about some interesting Bible stuff I found, what I'm working at, and then I'm going to get right into showing not only how I'm finding the analogs, but how I am cross-referencing them to prove what they are, to shore them up. What I'm going to do right in the beginning is be doing some word counts for Noah in between the King James Version and the NRSV. Let's jump right into that. Okay, first a quick check of the King James Version for Noah. Noah occurs 41 times. Okay. Now, if I take a look at where Noah is, there's something that I want to note. That as I move down here, that as I move into like chapter 6, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times it appears. Interesting. Chapter 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hey, how about that? Huh. Chapter 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We do have to talk about those breaks for a minute, the chapter breaks, because they're not originally part of the story. They were added in by Stephen Langton, Archbishop of Canterbury, 1200 something AD. I'll use AD and BC for Abrahamic material. So why would we worry about that? What I think is that Langton knew that the patterns were there. It looks like to me he's doing certain things in the numbering system that is obscuring or directing at certain points in time. It's kind of strange. But the thing is if you took those chapters out, how would you know that stuff? The chapters are identifying it now, but here's what the deal is. As you're looking at the story, when you read it, you just think it's a linear progression. But if you step back and look at it, it's an adventure. You're going to have like Abram and Sarai start here. There's a famine. They must go here. This happens. They must now leave, and now they travel here. That's a step along the way. You start. This is how it begins. You accumulate this. Now you move on. So there was one step right there, and that should be a chapter differentiation. If it's a template that we're following, that's it. There's details along the way. What we're doing here in the flood story is one big step, but within that there's various things happening. And the flood story is a bit convoluted, of course, because it was added to. You could see that there's 2 callings of Noah. There's 2 things to load on the boat. But they exist for a reason in here. Once we analyze it, we can see it. And it's all this number cross-referencing that's going to do it. And what we're seeing is cross-referencing of numbers. So where he delineated a chapter, that's a section, and then the next thing happens. So I trust as I look at that these are correct. But that's by looking at it and analyzing it. You don't just trust somebody's work. The first chapter he put in chapter 2, the chapter 1 and chapter 2, he put between day 6 and 7. There's 2 creation stories. It looked like there he purposefully tried to shift the first story to overlap down into the second chapter. That was the one place where I don't see it line up right. But you can see probably why. Let's try to hide this. I don't want people to know that there's 2 stories here. Okay, I'm getting into too much detail there. Let's go do the same check on here we have an NRSV copy. And what do we have here? When I put 40 in, I get 40 results. 40 exactly. Now, we know from our analog pile, 3, 7, 12, 40, all of those are these accumulating numbers, and they're being cross-referenced again and again. However, why would one say 41 and why would one say 40? One of them comes from the King James Version, the Tyndale Bible. The other one comes from the NRSV, the New Revised Standard Bible used by scholars. Now, this did not come from this. This was translated long ago from whatever source material they used. I'm sure it was all Greek probably by that time as they're translating. They do the same thing from here. They go to the same source and they translate it without this being in between. So who's right then? I don't know. 40 is a good number. So at some point I'm realizing, okay, I have to closely examine my downloaded, it's open source material, so somebody could have messed something up. So I go to both my Tyndale King James Version of the Bible as well as my own NRSV copy. Cross-referencing, I mark out every Noah that there is, and this one shows exactly 40, the NRSV does, and the Holy Bible shows exactly 41. So the online sources are correct. Why are they different? It's something upstream, prior to English. Rats. 40 is a good number. However, watch, if we go in and see where this change is. All right, we pop these up side by side. I've got the King James Version on the left, which has 41 counts. And on the right, I've got the NRSV, which only has 40. It's missing a count, and after analysis, this is where they've removed it from. And I have no idea why. This is in chapter 7 during the flood story. And the original is, in the self-same day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. Was changed to, on the very same day Noah with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons entered the ark. This, the sons of Noah, was removed, so that Noah right there disappeared from the count. It was in Langton's. Now also if you look, interestingly enough, if you looked at Langton's right here, we've got Noah, Noah, and Noah said 3 times in one verse that is chopped up. It's not even, it's not even a complete sentence. It's a partial. It was removed over here. I don't know why. It's odd. 40 is a good number. But if you went over to the NSRV again, and I'm going to punch up my 40 again and come in here and do the same count, and look at what changed here. In verse number 6, chapter 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that count was maintained. Chapter 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So that 12 count that was there is now only an 11 count in that one, where before it aligned, now it does not. If we move on to 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's still there. It's going to change as we go along. I'm showing you the consistencies and where the pattern varied right there, where that 1 was taken out. There was a 7, a 12, and a 7. Said 7 times in one chapter, 12 in the next chapter, 7 in the next. Then it went to 7, 11, and 7 again. However, that having been said, 40 is a good number. So the one that dropped to 11 shifted to 40. It's like they're still framing it up, but someone's saying, well, it could go this way or that way. And somebody's, well, to try it this way or try it that way or something like that. I don't know. It seems weird. The better thing to do would be to have somebody that that knows Hebrew that could look at it and say, oh, it's said exactly this many times. Yeah, don't even worry about those translations downstream. Here is what appears. Honestly, I trust the material. I see something going on that's weird, though. However, as you get down towards the end, something different happens. That pattern ceases to happen, and that might be where they're creating analogs again. You start off going, here's a pattern, and then all of a sudden, oh, now it went from 7, 12, 7 to 9. What's that? 9 just became 1. You were on course and you picked up something new along the way. It's like the pathway led you to a new analog, perhaps. Remember, we're doing this in our minds 3,500 years ago. We're doing it by memory. So we're working these out throughout the day. Okay, let's look at a couple of things then. This starts tying a lot of the network together. Watch these numbers. Okay, the entire thing starts on the day 7 of the first creation story, where 7 is said 3 times, and that pure place is established. Then in order to continue to repeat the pattern and that template without going back to 7 or 3 or Eden repeatedly. They're creating an entire list of analogous terms that can be used as you create the story. Dates can be made out of these. Stories can be made out of them. Famine in the land. Ooh, that sounds horrible. That means I'm free of anything. I haven't consumed anything. So there's just things. All of it is going to fit. You have to get to a certain point mentally with the material where you see what they're doing. And it's important to understand the template, and that this is a common point that they're going to start the stories on. The story is going to sound different. From story to story, they're going to sound radically different, but they're going to be using terms from this pool up front in a lot of ways. So how do we establish them? 7 and 3 moves off to what? Okay, the first thing that happens is you come down to a place like this where righteous just pops up a lot of times as you're reading it. An inordinate amount of times as I'm reading it. And there's cumbersome verbiage in there. As you read this thing, what is this? Then Abram came near and said, "Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous within the city. Will you then sweep away the place and not forgive it for the 50 righteous who are in it? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous fare as the wicked be. Anyway, it goes on. Okay, what we have going on here is righteous being said up 7 times exactly in this little dialogue here. Abraham is asking God about, talking to God. And in the responses, the 50, what about 40? I won't if there's 40. What about 45? And again, it's supposed to him, hey, 40 are found there, I will not do it for the sake of 40. And then 30, he answered, I will not do it if there's 30, 20, 20, 10, 10. So it just goes to this sequence, and you have to ask yourself why. And you know what they're doing? They're taking 7 righteous right there. They're turning righteous into an analog, at the same time throwing numbers at it that are all going to also presumably become analogs. They are repeated. They're asked, suppose there are 40, for the sake of 40 I won't do. What about this? I will and I won't. What about this? I will or I won't. What about this? I will or I won't. So I've got that kind of thinking in my brain going on in the background. So anyway, those become part of the analog pool, but that's not good enough. That's a speculation. What we have to do is begin cross-referencing them. Now, to be sure, a lot of this is theoretical. I'm trying to imagine what it's like having this as a puzzle come at me. So as I see these large numbers, for example, if I saw 777, I would treat that the same thing as 7, or 3, or 7 said 3 times, or 737, or 373. And just as an example, how that might sound in a story is you might start off having 3 daughters and 7 sons, plus 3,000 camels and 7,000 something other. And you're like, well, that's still a lot of 7s and 3s. That's kind of weird. And what that represents is 7373. They're all pure states, pure conscious, pure inner self. And then the animals, I haven't dialed, those are analogous. They're somehow our qualities. And some are good and some are bad. But 7,000 of those sounds more realistic. But it's starting off in life with a pure state and good pure qualities is what that is. So it sounds like a bunch of numbers, bunch of animals, bunch of things like that, but they really condense down to a single digit. And the story floats large from there. Okay, so we're going to look at our analog list. Remember, the original one was the 7 and 3, from the 7 being said 3 times in the creation story. Now we have righteous having been said 7 times, so it becomes 1. And it said so with 50 4 different times, 40 twice, 30 twice, 20 twice, and 10 twice as well. I don't have that one marked, but we'll just keep moving along here. There's so much to it. It's no need to get too detailed. Okay, look at this one. Adam's descendants to Noah and his sons. Now I get, at some point I begin to recognize what I just call analog farms. And I look for things like this, like right here, 800. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, how do you like that? 800 was said 7 times. Throughout all of Genesis, it is only said right here. Its only job in here is to become a tie point Since it said 7 times, whatever appears with it is what becomes an analog. 800, we got 7. We just confirmed that it's there. 815. Okay, let's add that to the list. 840. Okay, we've confirmed it. This has shown up both places now too. 830. There it has. So we've got 3. We haven't linked them all, but right here we've got the 7 came in from how many times it's being counted, where it comes from to begin with, and the 40 and the 30 just came from the same analog farm over in the Sodom farm part of the country. Yeah, okay. All right, everybody knows what I'm doing by now. I'm going to go back because I see another one that I just want to check it out. 900. Yeah, what do you know? It shows up 7 times right here. It's another analog farm where we've got big numbers and small numbers, dates, ages that are just not possible. People try to work these out with months and this and that and sun changing and da 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 da. This is all analog. They're not real. They exist for a purpose, though. They are purposeful. All right, we got 930. That's on our list. 12, it's on our list. 5, it's on our list. 10, it's on our list. 62, that's a new one. 69, that's a new one. And where does it end off is down here actually where Noah finally dies off, and it's 50. So let's go take a look at our list here. What do we have on board with all of those things? What are we already looking at? We've got our 50, 40, 30, 12. Yeah, there just are. I need to add the 62 and 69 up here. There's a 9 up here, though, a 50 and 9. 9. So you see I'm still dialing some of these in, but there's a 50 and a 9. I think what I'm doing is going to decombine those and say, yes, 50 is a number and 9 is indeed a number. And you could put them together or not. It doesn't matter. You could say 50 or you could say 9. Depends how you want to start the story. I had 50 camels. But you can't start a month. It was the 50th month. That won't work. You'd have to do something different. Like, okay, it was the 10th month and the 12th day of the 7th regime of, something like that is what they're doing. How they're building the stories. Okay, so to me, this seems to be incredibly ingenious. And what they're doing is they're just repeating words to create the same number, space, and then tying something else off on that. That's how they're creating. That's how they're creating the puzzle in the story. I'll just leave it at that. But you can see it continually emerging to the point that you're like, there's a network. They continue to point back to each other. And if you see that, what I want to do now is jump onto another one. What we're going to do is go look and see Noah, the flood. He first appears at the end of that analog farm that we just we're pulling numbers from or confirming numbers from, and we move right into the flood. But before the wickedness of humans, Noah is mentioned 4 times. 4 is one of our analogs. Then we move into the wickedness of humans, chapter 6 all the way down to the start of chapter 7. Okay, just through chapter 6. And Noah appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. The great flood. This is where it was missing. If you look down here, you'll see it in red, the sons of Noah. I added it in my NRSV copy here, and I'll just make a note of that right now, just because I'm counting through something here specifically that I can see in one version of a Bible, but not in the other. So I'm kind of optimizing one thing and not the other in this right here, one count. And that's this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 is confirmed again, but it's so through this block, Noah comes up 12 times. It continued to me points to that. The next story, the flood subsides, starts the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you see it continuing along that way, which looks to me like it's continuing to confirm the story. It's a very nested story. When it gets down here to the number 9, we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So in chapter 9, it appears 9 times, which is very interesting. That would have been in the hands of Stephen Langton. And I don't mean as far as separating out the story or putting in the count. I mean making it chapter 9. And then in chapter 10, it only appears twice. So it might be that they're using it flowed along perfectly, and then right here you go, oh, what's that? I don't recognize that one. This may very well be their way of saying, okay, here's your next analog. Grow this into your list there. And then the last one being 2. I don't know. I don't want to go there yet. It's pretty deep into the interpretation of the material. Okay, if I go back to the ark itself, back into Noah again, I'm going to search 7, and right here in chapter 7, this is where there was additions, actually in one of these, the 7 pairs of all clean animals. That appears because of the 7 in the 7-day creation. What we have here is 7 appearing 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is one of our numbers, 7 is one of our numbers. There's also a 17 in here at the end. We go down to chapter 8, it appears 5 times. There is a 17 in here, it's the second one. There are 5. 5 is one of the numbers, 7 is one of the numbers. And I'm now going to call 17. Actually, it's on the list. This is why I've got 17 on the list, is one that I don't have confirmed yet. But it only appears twice here. So 7 probably, it probably just means 7. Yeah. 7 is probably all we're looking at. But since it occurs 5 times in each one, then we're also saying that 5 is also confirmed. So 5 and 7 are both. We know 7 is one. 5 is now confirmed as well. Okay, as I look at the sizes here, and I'll just go ahead and highlight them real quick to look at them. We've got 3, we've got 50. There was a 300 there, but again, I'm contending that just means 3. That they're just, to make it sound different, to make it sound realistic. I mean, it can't be 3 cubits in length. So 300 is pretty reasonable if they're making a big-ass boat, right? Its width, 50 cubits, which is one of our, that means righteous. That's our starting point. And 30 cubits. To a cubit above, a single is there speculatively. So it looks to me like we are the ark. This is the way we interpret the material. My consciousness is Noah going on the adventure. I need to be righteous. I have to be the right kind of person. And then I've got to establish myself in a frame of righteousness before I go on my healing journey, which is flooding out my old world. Let's keep jumping around. I'm just going to cut to the chase. This is after the flood, before Noah dies, and God is creating a covenant with him. Covenant's repeated an awful lot. How many times? 7 times. You know what's going on now, don't you? Covenant just became an analog for that same point. Healing pure. Who's going on the journey? Somebody looking for a healing in pure place. So they're lacing, just a numbering system all over in here. But they had them memorized and can pull these up. We cannot. All right, jumping outside of Genesis, but still staying within Abrahamic material, I'm going to pull up Leviticus here. It's just downstream a little ways. And I've got something up front here that got my attention called Tent of Meeting. So I check that, and it comes up 43 times. Right here in the beginning, right in the first chapter, it appears 3 times, and then it appears 40 times throughout. So here we have a 40 and a 3 again. The number, these are not random. If you keep going through, it'll just become astoundingly evident that they are really tight on what they're doing here. Let's keep looking at it. The first 3 right here, it's in the chapter 1, yes, the introductory part of the story. Here's the calling and what is going to be going on. If I start moving down, we'll take a look. In chapter 2, it doesn't appear. In chapter 3, Tent of Meeting occurs 3 times. 3 times in 3. I go to chapter 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that sounds like 8 just went here. What happens if I put 8 in? It appears 13 times. On the eighth day, Moses. So I suspect there's something being set up in here for deeper reading. It's setting up code as it goes along. But, some of this is weight. Let me put a space in front of that. That knocked it down to 10. 10 is one of the numbers. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that it's possible for this to be maintained as coincidence. It's just too spot on. It continues to emerge, although it's deep. You have to walk a ways and turn some corners and figure out and bring some stuff with you. And honestly, there's a point where you're looking at it and you're beginning to see patterns deeper and deeper. I still see a web going way off, but it's like this, like we're seeing it right here. It's going to continue to just build off of that, the analog pool, and continue to repeat a self-healing template in a vehicle that is designed on the outside to do something different. That's for turning outward. When you turn inward with it, we're at the template. We're seeing something different in here. And it's right at our fingertips the whole time. Anyway, I just thought this video would be kind of fun for people to see that a little bit more, how things are being formed up. And to see that it's big, it takes a long time for me to read through it and to figure it out, to look at something until I go, that sounds a little weird. Let me start looking at it. And typically it pops up something. I hit a few dead ends, but I'm astounded at how much it just keeps matching up in those numbering systems right there. And then as stories start downstream, they're pulling from those, from dates, years, amount of livestock, whatever the case may be, whatever is reasonable. Who's being called? Somebody that's righteous, somebody that's got a covenant with God. All of those are coming from this pool on the 3rd or the 7th or the 40th. That's why they show up all the time. They show up more than we have any idea. They show up in word repetition that we don't even see. All right. Hope the video was fun. See you in the next one.